With the result of the electoral college now complete, with Arizona being the last state that was given to Donald Trump, I wanted to check what the left wing media was saying about the election. And as a libertarian myself, I grabbed the popcorn and I was like, let me watch. Let's see if maybe they have figured out why Donald Trump won in such a very decisive way. Let's get to it.
The Tea Party was just people, they had economic anxiety. That's all it was. But the people with the most economic anxiety were black and brown people who at that time did not join the Tea Party. So I just don't want to take out that many of these can be true at the same time.
I would just say this. Maybe you got a bad messenger and a bad message. Kamala Harris has never run an election in a state that wasn't 100% Democratic. She's been elected in the state of California her entire career. She's run as a prosecutor. She ran for AG. She ran for Senate in a blue state. So she's never had to build a coalition. She's never had to really campaign. When she ran for president the first time on her own, she tanked. She tanked. She didn't get anywhere. And then so when this came about, this opportunity came about, she didn't run again. She's never been battle tested. And Axe, you've said this before. Running for president is a skill.
So here we got David Orban, which is making actually some solid points about the issues with the messenger, about Kamala as a candidate. And I know many people on the left, or especially I'll say the far left, cannot fathom that people will vote for a female president. I think it's a bunch of nonsense. I think you put a wrong candidate that not even the Democrats wanted in the first place. When Kamala had a primaries, she lost. She didn't even win her own state. And now you think you're just gonna manipulate everyone to get to vote for her? At the end, you took a chance and you lost, and you have to admit it. I think Kamala was not the best candidate for the Democratic Party. If they had a primaries, maybe they could have picked a more solid candidate that the people could have gotten behind, and maybe things would have been a lot closer. Personally, I thought the election was going to be a lot closer. I thought Trump was going to pull Michigan, but it's going to be sufficient for him to keep to win the presidency. But I did not see this. I mean, this ass whooping was real. Like, Jesus, like I just checked, as I mentioned, Arizona recently just finished. It was 226 to 312. That's crazy. I did not see that coming. And I still wonder, were the 11 million that voted for Biden? But we can talk about that later. So as I mentioned, he's making solid points, and you can see how the other political commentator is trying to deflect, like pretending like, no, you're wrong. We know exactly what we're wrong. No, you lost. Clearly, you don't know exactly what went wrong. And this guy's giving actual criticism, and it's not and finger pointing and blaming other people why they didn't vote for your candidate. Maybe better get a better candidate. So I'm gonna continue here with a clip.
Barack Obama wasn't good at it when he started.
Right.
There was no racism at it. Barack Obama got good at it. You helped him get good at it, right? And so maybe she's just a bad messenger, selling a bad product.
No, I mean, look, I think, again,
You don't think there's any validity to that?
No, I think that there are plenty of ways to critique her as a candidate. I think there'll be time to do that. I think the fundamental point, and it's been made again and again and again tonight, no one, I don't care how good a candidate you were, it's very hard when there's a 28% right track number in this country, when people have 2/3 of the country think the economy is bad, regardless of whether it is or, you know.
No, again, I'm saying not just messenger, I'm saying the message as well.
But no, she
So this gentleman right here is clearly missing the mark, and he's not getting the pain that people are feeling. The big issue that Kamala was going to have is the inflation happened under your administration. The illegal immigration happened under your administration. At least on the inflation side, I think that Donald Trump would have seen similar levels of inflation, maybe not as big, but he definitely would have seen some kind of level of inflation. But that's what people felt the most. The inflation, the past that we lost around 20% of the value of the dollar, that's just 20% on the low end. Because we all know it's a lot more than 20%. If you actually revert the inflation numbers to how they used to do it back in the 90s and back in the 80s, our inflation would have been well over the 26%. And we feel it when we go buy groceries, when we find a place to rent, when we find a place to like somewhere where you need to buy. The price of housing, it's not the same. It's not the same. And I know for them to be such a comfortable position, they're like, oh, it's not that much. It's not that much. Yes. For example, I am from Miami. In Miami, houses that back in 2018 used to go for $350K, by 2023, those same houses were going for $650. The first place where I was rented in Miami as well, a 2x1. Back, I rented that place in 2015. It used to be $1,300. Guess how much they rented that same apartment a couple of months ago? $2,400. That's the pain that people are feeling. And whoever is in office at that time, they're going to take the blame. And that's exactly one of the big problems. The second problem that Kamala had is you cannot be a far left progressive your entire political career and then pretend, oh, I'm just going to play lip service, like to pretend that I'm a moderate. You're not a moderate. She's never been a moderate. She's a far left candidate. It's like they put a far right candidate, and this guy's gonna pretend that, oh, I'm talking about the center. You're not. The same way she does not represent it, it's the same way another person from the far would not represent it. And they also saw many of the attacks that they had on Donald Trump was political. It was 100% political. And even people that I know that they voted for Kamala, they're like, dude, they're doing that stuff on purpose. We all know it's political. We know if his name was not Donald Trump, if he was not in office, they wouldn't have done all the lawfare that they're putting on the guy. And people voted against it. And I think this also starts to show the influence that mainstream media is losing. Because many people in podcasts and other ways, you have anyone that wants to find information, the information is out there for you to contrast it. At the end, we all vote based on our personalities, but we can see that she's been lying about almost all her positions, her entire campaign, and now she's getting the results of those lies.
But that is all true, but that doesn't obviate the fact that there were some people who probably voted against her. We've never had a woman president, that there's sexism in this country. There are people who probably voted against her because there may be some people there are clearly people who voted for her because
I mean, Barack and Michelle Obama are some of the most admired people in America.
Let me just say, though, I wonder, I worry that...
Trust me, there were plenty of people who weren't terribly happy about having him as
still
president.
today, look at the numbers.
Please stop.
No, but I think that the wrong takeaway from this would be that by running toward the center and away from some of her 2019 positions, that was a mistake, and that she should have doubled down on ultra-leftism and tried to play to the progressive base. I think this is a sweeping indictment of a progressive left that has gone so far that it alienates so much of the center of this country. There's a rural-urban divide, but there's a cultural divide where people feel left behind where part of the party, Democratic Party, is going. And I do think she was right to moderate. That's what she should have done. But she had a 3-month basically window to do that. She's somebody who was not battle tested, and she was wearing the brunt of Joe Biden in her own positions in 2019. That was a terrible position to be.
And again, he keeps missing the mark and now playing to sexism. If you had a solid candidate, people will vote for women. There's plenty women that are in Congress that have gotten elected multiple times in both red and blue states. So all that talk about they don't want to have a female president is a bunch of nonsense. And she's making, she's making solid points. She's saying the Democratic Party has become the party of the far left, the progressive, not the reasonable liberals that want to make sure there are good things happening for the working people. No, no, no. We're talking about the 1,500 genders that we're talking about. We're talking about the certain inappropriate things that are being taught in schools that people are not definitely not supporting. Some of the propaganda that's being pushed from the progressive side that they cannot wrap their head around it and now cannot understand why they lost. They rejected that message. They rejected all the nonsense, all the extreme that you were pushing. Get closer to the center and talk to regular people, and you're going to see a different thing. Personally, and I'm pretty sure all of you that are seeing this video that know people that voted for Kamala, they cannot tell you, oh, I voted for Kamala, oh, because I love this policy of hers. If it's a female, she will tell you it's because of abortion. But if anyone else, they'll just tell you, I just don't want Trump. I just don't want Trump. And how far can you push that? How far can you keep winning elections just saying, hey, let's vote against Donald Trump? At the end, so many people are like, hey, I just don't hate the guy that much. Personally, don't like the guy. I wanted DeSantis, I wanted anyone else, but you have the option of Donald Trump and a far left. I skip socialism. Every time I hear that talk about giving free stuff and all that, it's just something that I can work with. But it seems that two of the people on the panel are getting the message. They're getting there, but the other two, they're I think they're never going to understand it. I think they live in a separate world, and this is what happens with algorithm and social media, that they're not able to understand that most people don't hate each other. Most people just want their dollar to go further, and they're feeling that it does not go as far as it used to. And if you're in office, you take the blame, and that's the reflection that we got.